all. We are still R&D and hoping to have the product. But these were the challenges that I've been facing with now.
Okay, great. So I'll continue with you only on the policy side. So what do you feel are the major policies roadblock that you have faced, and in, let's say, regulatory testing or reimbursement framework, or what are your expectations, and is there any steps in that direction, or what would be your suggestion if India wants to improve the, let's say, the pace of innovation in medical manufacturing?
So regulatory is very, very important. It's already been mentioned by Kushan. We need to harmonize the standards. We need to get to the level of FDA US as well as the EU. There are a lot of barriers to doing that, and also I've heard from a couple of speakers that there is still corruption in that level. People get a certificate without actually having the capabilities, and when you approach them and you realize they're sitting in a shed without any of these things. So those things have to be taken care of. The government support needs to be more, especially in this area. They're not supporting the early startups as much as they could. Yes, there is a lot of funding available, but to go through that process is difficult, and to know whom to go to is difficult. So I think conferences like this help. I learned a few things in the last two sessions where we can get support for IP filing, we can get support for other things which I wasn't prepared before. So I think the government involvement, regulatory framework, and the quality, we have to reach the level where the regulations are actually looking at the quality, not just signing a piece of paper.
Great, great. Thank you, Dr. Verma. Now, my next question on this geopolitical and policy landscape is to Amrish. So, what do you feel? How is global MNCs looking at India when the talks of de-risking for China? So, is there a tangible, real shift in medtech supply chain, and more importantly, what can India do to position itself as a preferred +1 destination compared to competitors like Vietnam and Mexico and other countries?
So it's kind of a mixed bag there, I would say. If I read some of the reports that I generally get across various forums, if I read some of the reports that I generally get across multiple forums, what I see most that there has been a growth in inquiries. But when I start following up with those inquiries in maybe 5 months from now or 6 months from now, have they actually converted to orders? I think it's a fraction. And that is something we really need to understand what's happening there. Why is it converting or why is it not converting? And this, some of it is in med devices, some of it is in pharma. So we really need to understand where is it going and where are we going wrong. I think from another perspective is innovation in India. And I look at Dr. Dinesh and he mentioned that we need to get stuff done, we really need to fund them out. I think I'll add to another angle to that. We also need to support innovation to get to commercialization. There are so many products I know that have been innovated under the government scheme, but I've never seen the like of day. And these are fantastic products. These guys have got CE, US FDA approvals, US patents also, and they don't see the light of the day because entrepreneurs do not necessarily make the best marketing. So there's a lot of availability, and these small changes in policy is not only going to fuel innovation, it's going to also attract MNCs once they see that there's a lot of innovation happening in the country. And just take the example of China. What China has been able to become the medical hub today, not because it supplies the products at a cheap rate. It is able to become a medical hub today because they did innovate. The minds of the world are coming up with their own technology. We need to look at those ways of going and developing this industry further. be able to attract MNCs in the world.
Yeah, agreed. Now, coming on to the products that we are already exporting, so I'd like to take your opinion, Prashant, that you know what type of countries or markets are more suitable to the current Make in India products that we are exporting, and what is the value proposition that is attractive to them.
So as I've already mentioned that we are already catering to 150 countries. There are many Indian manufacturers who are looking towards this market. So the countries which are having the emerging economies, the developing countries, I can that all the Asian countries can be the part of that, which includes Cambodia, Indonesia, Thailand, Myanmar, all these countries because they are all developing countries and the markets are emerging. And some of the Latin America countries is also there who are very much attracted towards the Indian imports. We can talk about the African countries and why Indian manufacturing are relevant for them. The couple of reasons is that the most important is that cost effectiveness and affordability. So they look towards that, and India is always known as a low value and high volume production capacity, and which is very much suitable for their market. And they are looking towards the Indian imports. Second thing is that similar healthcare challenges. When we talk about that, the kind of challenges India faces when it comes to the non-communicable disease, these countries are also facing the same similar challenges. So they are very much okay to go ahead with this kind of solution. Third, that a lot of countries are getting global funding. They want to increase their health budget. They want to invest in the medical tourism. So India is the only country where they can see that India can fulfill all their needs. These are the countries who are very much okay with buying from India, very much relevant for the Indian import.
Okay, so my next question on that line of thought is, then what can India do to take a significant leap if they want to target, let's say, the highly regulated, high-value markets? And what are the current hurdles that you see, and what will make them increase the confidence in Make in India products?
So again, as I mentioned, that highly regulated market are three, mainly the US, Europe, and Japan. So when we talk about the US, the certification, as already Dr. Dinesh has mentioned that US FDA certification. When you go to Europe, you look forward for the European CE, and Japan the PDMA certification. So the biggest hurdle is that the quite complex and rigorous documentation. An Indian manufacturer has to understand their need because that is completely complex and different from what we are doing currently. So understanding those regulations, understanding that documentation, we need to reformat our documentation. The submission is there. Second challenge I can say is that when you go for the certification, the not only the documentation but the different stage-wise processes are also very complex. They need the clinical data, not clinical data from the India, but for the target market. And the clinical trials require a lot of time, a lot of expenditure, which I think Indian manufacturer always inhibit because they look forward for the ROI, return of investment. Third point, I can say that these markets are very much saturated. When I'm saying that saturated, it means that high-end technology, which are already present over there, where we are working towards that. In robotics in India is known for last 3-4 years. However, these markets are already shifted long back on the robotics, and we just came to know that and started using that. So these things are there, and the most important again that land.
Put in a very large medical facility, manufacturing facility in Bangalore. That is a PLI approved plant for 18 category of products. So PLI has a lot of advantages, but there are many other aspects that PLI also needs to, cover up to roll out the incentives faster. Okay? So first thing is PLI only talks about incremental sales that we do. It doesn't talks about, you know, what is the additional value creation that is done in the factory vis-a-vis the last year. Yeah. So last year I would be importing 50%, doing assembly of 50%, and this year I have done import of this 30% and assembly of 70%. So these factors, of course, PLI doesn't talk about. Yeah. If you talk about, you know, the rollout of incentives that government has done against the laid out around 3,200 crores of budget for 5 years, the layout of last 2 years is just less than 22. So this is the area we need to see why it is happening. Right? You have big ambition, you have laid out big plans, but we are not able to do it. So this is one of the areas. Second is PLIs are also not applicable for brownfield projects. You know, if you want to do a delta investment, you know, marginal investment that lead to you know, increased made in India and in the existing plants, those are not valid under, you know, PLI schemes. So that is one of the areas, you know, that I would like to talk about, and also on the regulatory side, definitely, as my friends have